It is a little shocking just because drafts are such a fundamentally American institution, but at the end of the day, drafts may be American, but soccer is not.
Welcome to another edition of the ISB podcast. I'm your host, Sahil, here with Ishana, bringing Ishana back to talk a little women's football / soccer. Ishana, how have you firstly been since the U.S. women winning the Olympics? You were partying the whole month or what?
I have been reliving the moments and all the great BTS on social media, and I've just been having a great time with it.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. We are talking a little women's soccer today because women's football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, but we are talking it today because there were some big adjustments that the NWSL, of course, the US's major women's soccer league, made, and it became the first major American sports league to ditch the draft. What do we got to say about that?
I mean, there's just so much here. I feel like first we should unpack what exactly this means and what exactly this means for the players, for the sports. Basically, I should start off by saying that initially the current CBA was meant to expire in 2026. And then after the U.S. women's national team had a poor performance in the World Cup, they decided to expedite these negotiations. I think that is very important for viewers to understand because this has come out of a realization that global soccer is catching up, and in order to compete, with these European leagues and foreign leagues, this is what we had to do. So at the end of the day, it is a little shocking just because drafts are such a fundamentally American institution, but at the end of the day, drafts may be American, but soccer is not. Soccer is global. And as the powerhouse of soccer, as, the forgers in this sport being the women in America, I think that it is appropriate that this step be taken.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the players. That's interesting. I mean, I think there's a lot of good context in terms of that. Drafts are, as you said, very American. All the major sports have them. And it's kind of ironic, just, to go on a tangent for a second. It's kind of ironic that a country that prides itself on free market capitalism, so to speak. I know we're not a free market capitalism, but prides itself so much on capitalism, actually tries to accomplish a lot of parity in its domestic sports, right? That's kind of an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, and it is interesting. A lot of, people in the NBA and the NFL have brought this up about how it does feel a little bit like we are buying and selling human beings, and it feels kind of archaic in that sense, which is the truth. But obviously there are a lot of advantages as well. One for women's soccer being that I think it helps collegiate athletes and inspires them to have importance when they're playing. And obviously that's something that is going to be adjusted now as well.
Yeah. What happens to the players? So what happens to the players with regard to this, Ishana?
So one thing that is very positive is, first of all, they can't be traded without consent. So that is, that's great. They're going to have, the workload management is a lot better. They're going to get mid-season breaks. They're going to get charter flights. And one thing I want to bring up that a lot of people, I think, haven't even mentioned is with regards to just better workload management, women tearing their ACLs in the NWSL and across women's soccer is a problem. It's a huge problem, whether it is the boots or the schedule. I think allowing these players more rest time and giving them more sense of control is very, it might help this issue. Yeah. And we won't have people injuring, all the time. Yep. Something else that happens here is as soon as your contracts expire, you can be a free agent. So you don't have that 5-year service restriction. One big win is the salary caps are going to go way up, estimating between that it'll add 200K to 1 million, which is awesome. Right now, Angel City FC has the highest valuation right now. So it's the most valuable team in that sense. And I'm just looking forward to, these sponsorship packs and media rights getting siphoned this way. I think it can only help the league and help the viewership and help these women get paid. So I'm here for it. I'm here for all these things. And I'm here for the recognition also that these other leagues are strong. And I think that's a nice, it's important that we recognize that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So these European leagues, right? These aren't, these are tough leagues. It's no joke, right? So this allows the NWSL to be more competitive. And I think it allows them to attract the top talented players in the world that they want to, and maintain the competitiveness in terms of that. So that, I think, is a huge plus.
It's a huge plus. And, something that's interesting is it's also appropriate. I think what's interesting is also, obviously, the MLS hasn't done this, and it is the first American league to do this, but it is appropriate that the women did it because, again, as the powerhouses in this sport within the context of America, I think it's a good step. And I like that they were the first ones to do it and that they're forging this path. It completely changes the landscape of American sports, but it's nice that it has also come from the women.
I think in a sense it's great, because if you think about it, you're the top player in college. You end up on the worst team, more or less, in the league. And that's not entirely fair, right? If you really think about it from the perspective of you being the top player, and then you have to prove yourself. Your first foray into the league is at a team that maybe doesn't have the pieces around you to play well in that capacity. And I think it's this way. It allows some of those players to go to other teams where they might excel. And then also it discourages the tanking, right? The tanking at the end of the season, trying to lose matches to get that top spot.
Yeah, and again, like Liga F, for example, in Spain being such a global powerhouse right now in soccer, I think it's giving us an avenue to kind of swoop back in that sense. And the only thing I will say to your point, though, is I think the major loss, in my opinion, is unlike men's soccer, women's soccer, a lot of people go through college, and that's kind of their a direct feeder into it. And it is kind of a nice concept as well, because America really values education, which is why, and college sports in general, unlike, these European and foreign countries. And so it will probably de-incentivize that tradition and just, potentially, obviously, we have examples where not everyone does that. Alyssa Thompson, great example, these younger players. But I do think that there's something nice to be said about that sort of nurturing way in which they kind of go about to becoming professional. And that is, I think, going to be the biggest loss, I would say.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's always two sides to a coin, but I think overall we're excited about these changes as a whole, and I think this is a big step forward, as you mentioned, for NWSL. Any last thoughts, Ishana, before we finish up for the day?
Well, I mean, I think the nice thing too is that the players are unanimously very happy about this, and why wouldn't they be? I mean, you get more agency, and they should have it. And it's also, I think, something people don't think about. It's tough on these families, on these people to kind of, not know where you're going to stay and have to. It's nice to be in an environment at the end of the day that's conducive to what is your optimal work ethic? And now they have a bit more say in that rather than adapting to these crazy conditions and, you know, crazy schedules and things like that. So I'm hoping that it'll drive the sport even more, and I'm hoping that it'll reduce injuries, and I'm excited. What a great landmark decision.
Yeah, I think you know all those the entire CBA as a whole, it turned into some very good stuff for the NWSL and women's soccer in general. So if you enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts about what you feel about the NWSL ditching the draft. Do you agree with it? Do you think it's going to hurt the collegiate landscape? What do you think is going to happen with that? We'd love to hear from all you women's football soccer fans out there, and we can say it today: go women's soccer. That's
Go women's soccer. Go US soccer. It still is US soccer.
still
So
US soccer.